93% of women who feel genuine attraction will never, ever say it directly. Instead, they broadcast it through hidden signals that most men completely miss. And here's where it gets interesting. A 2023 study from the University of Kansas found that men correctly identify when a woman is attracted to them only 45% of the time. That's worse than a coin flip. But what if I told you that as a woman, I'm about to hand you the exact decoder ring to our hidden attraction signals? The ones we use unconsciously, the ones we can't fake, and the ones that reveal desire we sometimes don't even admit to ourselves. These aren't the obvious signs everyone talks about. These are the secret psychological markers that women display when attraction runs bone deep. So, here's something most relationship coaches won't tell you. And honestly, most women would be slightly embarrassed that I'm sharing this. Female attraction isn't random. It follows predictable, psychological patterns that have been studied extensively by behavioral scientists, anthropologists, and evolutionary psychologists for decades. The problem, most of this research sits in academic journals that nobody reads, while clickbait articles keep recycling the same tired advice about she plays with her hair or she laughs at your jokes. Those surface-level observations miss the entire point, because true attraction, the kind that makes a woman think about you at 2 a.m, the kind that makes her stomach flip when your name appears on her phone, that type of attraction leaves very specific breadcrumbs. And as a woman who has experienced this firsthand and studied the psychology behind it extensively, I'm going to break down 7 of the most hidden, most reliable, and most telling signs that she secretly craves you. But I need you to pay close attention, because sign number 5 is one that completely contradicts what most dating advice will tell you. And sign number 7, that one is so subtle that even the woman experiencing it might not realize what she's revealing. Before we continue, I want you to mentally think of one woman right now, someone you've been wondering about. Keep her in mind as we go through these signs, and you might be genuinely shocked by what you realize. The first hidden sign is something called the vocal frequency shift. And this one is fascinating because it happens completely outside of conscious control. When a woman feels genuine attraction to someone, her voice changes. And I'm not talking about that fake, exaggerated sweetness some people put on. That's actually a sign of manipulation, not attraction. I'm talking about something far more nuanced. Research published in the journal Evolution and Human Behavior demonstrated that women unconsciously modulate their vocal pitch when speaking to men they find attractive. But here's the twist that makes this so revealing. The direction of the shift depends on the type of attraction. When a woman sees you as romantically and physically desirable, her voice tends to become slightly breathier, with subtle variations in pitch. It's not dramatically higher or lower, it's textured differently. Dr. Susan Hughes, a psychologist specializing in evolutionary vocal communication, found that these vocal changes are incredibly difficult to fake because they're controlled by the autonomic nervous system, the same system that controls blushing and pupil dilation. So, when you're talking to a woman, and her voice takes on this quality that's somehow different from how she speaks to everyone else, something is happening beneath the surface. Here's a practical way to notice this. Pay attention to how she speaks to other people versus how she speaks to you. If there's a noticeable shift, even one you can't quite articulate, your subconscious is picking up on attraction signals that her conscious mind might not even be aware she's sending. This was something I personally didn't realize I did until a friend pointed it out years ago. I was mortified, but it proved the research right. Now, the second sign involves something I call the proximity paradox. And this one requires you to observe patterns rather than single moments. When a woman is genuinely attracted to someone, she will find reasons to be near them while simultaneously creating plausible deniability for that closeness. This is psychological gold once you understand it. Let me explain how this actually works in real situations. She might consistently choose the seat nearest to you in group settings. Not right next to you because that would be obvious, but strategically close. She might suddenly become very interested in whatever activity or location you frequent. If you mention you grab coffee at a particular cafe, don't be surprised if she develops a newfound appreciation for their lattes. The fascinating psychology behind this comes from Dr. Helen Fisher's research on the neuroscience of attraction. When we're attracted to someone, our brains literally become obsessed with proximity. The reward centers light up in anticipation of being near that person. But social conditioning teaches women to never appear too eager or too available. Hence the paradox. She wants to be close, but she also needs it to seem coincidental. The telltale marker is consistency combined with weak justification. If she keeps appearing in your orbit and her reasons for being there seem slightly manufactured. Oh, I just happened to be in this neighborhood. Or, I didn't realize you'd be here. Pay attention. The universe isn't that generous with coincidences. She's engineering proximity while protecting her ego from potential rejection. This sign is particularly strong when combined with what anthropologists call spatial anchoring. She'll position herself within what social psychologists define as the intimate zone, roughly 18 in during conversations, even when there's plenty of room to maintain standard social distance. And if you step back, watch what happens. A woman who's attracted will unconsciously close that gap again. This third sign is one that honestly surprised me when I learned the research behind it, and it's called the memory archive phenomenon. When a woman is experiencing genuine attraction, her brain essentially creates a priority filing system for information related to you. She will remember tiny, seemingly insignificant details from your conversations. Details that you probably forgot you even mentioned. A study from the University of California found that emotional arousal during conversation formation significantly enhances memory encoding. Attraction creates a state of mild, pleasant emotional arousal, which means conversations with someone you're attracted to get encoded more deeply and accurately than mundane exchanges. So here's what this looks like in practice. 3 weeks ago, you casually mentioned that you prefer almond milk in your coffee. You probably forgot you said it, but she references it later. Oh, I remembered you can't do regular dairy, right? Or you briefly mentioned your dog's name once, and months later she asks, "How's Charlie doing?" She's not stalking your social media. Her brain has literally flagged you as important, and it's capturing and storing information accordingly. This sign is incredibly difficult to fake because it requires genuine attention. A woman who's just being polite or friendly might remember broad strokes of your conversations, but she won't have this level of granular recall. The details she remembers serve as a map of her psychological investment. The more obscure the details she recalls, the stronger the attraction signal. And here's something I personally find fascinating about this phenomenon. Most women who do this aren't even consciously aware of it. She's not taking mental notes thinking, "I'll remember this for later to show him I care." Her brain is doing it automatically because evolution has wired us to carefully track information about potential partners we find valuable. When a woman's memory becomes a precision instrument around you specifically, that's not friendly interest. That's attraction working at a neurological level. Now, we're getting into territory that some dating coaches completely misunderstand. So, pay close attention. Sign number 4 is the protective jealousy response. But it's not what you think. I'm not talking about dramatic jealousy, possessiveness, or anything toxic. I'm talking about micro expressions of discomfort that flash across her face or appear in her body language when other women show you attention. Research on mate guarding behavior shows that humans, regardless of gender, display subtle protective responses when potential romantic rivals appear. In women who feel secret attraction, this manifests in very specific ways. Her posture might stiffen slightly when an attractive woman approaches you. She might suddenly become more attentive to her phone or quieter in conversation. Or she'll position herself slightly between you and the other woman without consciously realizing she's doing it. Dr. David Buss, one of the world's leading evolutionary psychologists, has documented that these jealousy micro-responses often appear before someone has even consciously acknowledged their own feelings. In other words, her protective behavior might reveal attraction that she hasn't even admitted to herself yet. The important distinction here is subtlety. A woman with toxic tendencies might display overt jealousy regardless of genuine attraction. But a healthy woman experiencing genuine hidden attraction will show brief, controlled flashes of discomfort that she quickly suppresses because she knows she has no right to feel that way. You're not together after all. Watch for these moments. Does she change her demeanor when you mention other women? Does she seem to listen more carefully to stories about your female friends? Does she make subtle comments that seem designed to reduce your interest in someone else? These aren't manipulation tactics when they come from a place of genuine attraction. They're involuntary responses to the fear of losing access to someone she values. All right, this is the one I mentioned earlier that completely contradicts conventional dating wisdom. So, this is essential information. Sign number 5 is what I call the contradiction signal, and it's going to sound counterintuitive at first. When a woman feels intense, genuine attraction, she will sometimes create distance, seem inconsistent, or even appear slightly cold. Most dating advice would have you interpret this as rejection, but psychological research tells a different story. This phenomenon is rooted in what psychologists call approach avoidance conflict. When something is highly desirable but also poses emotional risk, the human brain creates contradictory behaviors. Attraction, real, intense attraction, is psychologically threatening. It makes us vulnerable. And for many women, that vulnerability triggers protective mechanisms. So she might be warm and engaged one day, then slightly distant the next. She might seem interested during your conversation, but take longer to respond to texts afterward. She might laugh at your jokes and maintain eye contact in person, then seem casual and brief over message. This isn't game playing in most cases. It's internal conflict manifesting externally. Researchers at UCLA studying attachment patterns found that individuals who feel strongly attracted often regulate their behavior to protect themselves from rejection. The more she's attracted to you, the more she has to lose emotionally, and the more her brain tries to establish protective distance. Here's how you identify this pattern. If her contradictions follow a rhythm, warmth followed by distance followed by warmth. Again, you're likely seeing approach avoidance in action. True disinterest looks different. A woman who genuinely isn't attracted will maintain consistent casual distance. She won't oscillate. The emotional charge that creates the contradiction simply isn't there. And I'll be honest with you, as a woman, I've done this myself when I felt strongly about someone. Looking back, the more I was attracted, the more erratically I behaved because the stakes felt so high. It wasn't logical, but attraction rarely is. Sign number 6 is beautifully revealing, and most men completely miss it when it happens. I call it the future projection slip. This occurs when a woman unconsciously includes you in her future scenarios, often in ways that seem casual but are psychologically significant. Dr. John Gottman, the legendary relationship researcher, found that one of the strongest indicators of romantic investment is the natural inclusion of another person in future-oriented thinking. When a woman feels attraction, her brain begins modeling futures that include you. This shows up in statements that might seem throwaway. "Oh, when that concert happens next month, you'd love the opening band." Notice she's not inviting you. She's assuming your presence in a future moment. Or, "We should try that restaurant sometime." And she says it naturally, without awkwardness, because in her mind, spending future time with you is already a given. The slip part is important. These aren't calculated statements designed to communicate interest. They're unconscious verbalizations of internal assumptions she's already making. Her future modeling includes you, and pieces of that internal narrative slip out in conversation. The more specific the future projection, the stronger the signal. "When summer comes" is moderate. "When your sister visits next month, we could show her around together" is significant. She's tracking your life events and inserting herself into them. And now, the final and most covert sign of all. This one is so subtle that even the woman experiencing it often doesn't recognize what she's revealing. It's called the third-party revelation. When a woman has talked about you to her friends, family, or anyone in her inner circle, the attraction is serious. But she'll rarely tell you directly that she's been discussing you. The evidence appears in other ways. Her friends might know things about you that she shouldn't have had reason to share unless you were significant. Mutual acquaintances might treat you with subtle knowing expressions. She might reference something about you with the phrase, "I was telling someone about," and catch herself before revealing who. Research on female social bonding shows that women process romantic feelings partially through external discussion. Talking about a potential romantic interest is actually part of how many women clarify and validate their own emotions. So, when traces of these discussions surface, you're not just seeing attraction. You're seeing attraction that she's emotionally investing in. Here's the subtle tell. If she seems slightly embarrassed when it becomes apparent that she's talked about you, or if she quickly downplays how much she's shared, the attraction runs deep. Women don't extensively discuss people they're indifferent about. If you've made it into her conversations with her inner circle, you've made it into her emotional consideration set. So, there you have it. 7 hidden signs that reveal genuine attraction. The kind that runs beneath the surface and often beyond conscious awareness. The vocal frequency shift, the proximity paradox, the memory archive phenomenon, the protective jealousy response, the contradiction signal, the future projection slip, and the third-party revelation. Now, here's what I want you to do. That woman you thought of at the beginning of this video, run through these 7 signs and honestly assess how many apply to your situation. Because if multiple signs are present, you're not dealing with casual friendliness. You're dealing with someone whose psychology is signaling genuine attraction. And speaking of signals you might be missing, there's a video appearing on your screen right now titled 7 Hidden Signs She Secretly Craves You. Vertical bar, powerful female attraction psychology explained, that goes even further into understanding these dynamics. If this information changed how you see things, that video will complete the picture in ways you genuinely need to see. Click it now, because understanding attraction psychology isn't just interesting. It's the difference between recognizing real opportunities and letting them pass you by completely unaware.